So hi everyone, hope you're doing well today and looking forward to our Dharma talk. Well, actually Dharma chanting, the meditations and the Dharma talk. So try your best to be mindful, aware and conscientious. Listen to the Dharma with good intention, with good concentration. Try to remember it all so that you can contemplate it later and put it into practice in your everyday life. So let's do the chanting right away. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sammasambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sammasambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sammasambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami, Tatiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from the happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddhist way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayataum Gati Gati Parasam Gati Bodhi Soha. Tayataum Gati Gati Parasam Gati Bodhi Soha. Tayataum Gati Gati Parasam Gati Bodhi Soha. So now get yourself into a nice position for meditation. And just a little note, Leanne, to keep your eye out for anybody that's running a bit late. I think I may have just got a message in Messenger from England. So just keep your eye out there for Hanneke, in case I think she's having trouble getting into Zoom. So, okie dokie. So now let's release the tension from our body. I remind you that I encourage you to do this before class too. Calm your mind before classes as you're waiting to get in, and even just prior to that. I know because Leanne has to keep her eyes open, same with Licia when she's hosting, and they both do the meditation before the class, which is very good, very disciplined, so that they can keep their eyes open in case there's any issues with our Zoom connection, things like that. So very good. So gently close your eyes and bring your mind to your body and release the tension all the way from the tips of your toes up to your shoulders, down to the tips of your fingers, and up to the top of your head. And now scan your body once more just to see if there's any leftover tension that you may be able to release. Bring your mind now to the tip of your nose initially, and the object of the meditation, as per usual, is the breath, the feeling of the breath as you breathe in and out of your lungs. Breathing in your nose, the air passes your throat quite cool. Then it goes past the chest area, and then into the lungs. They expand as they fill with the air. And then they compress as you breathe out. And then the air passes your throat quite warm on the way out. So that's all we have to do right now, is to focus on this breathing, feeling of the breath as you breathe in and out. Past is gone, future's not here. What we call the present moment is fleeting. So don't attach to any of this. Any of these thoughts that may arise, don't attach to them. Any mental feelings arise, don't attach to them. So if you do become agitated mentally, have some sort of distractions, whether it be thoughts or emotions or feelings and the like, as alluded to, just then don't cling to them, don't grasp at them. Also, don't try to force them away or deny them. Simply let them go naturally by refocusing on your breath. And if your mind starts to become a little sleepy or dull, then wake it up a little bit by refocusing on your breath more brightly. So let's practice like this for a short time in silence. So now we can feel very pleased with ourselves for engaging in this short session and fill ourselves with universal loving kindness, friendliness. Accept ourselves as we are. Realize that our true potential is enlightenment. But also realize now we have a lot of practice to do, a lot of purifying to do. Just accept that fact. So fill yourself with this friendly, goodwill, loving kindness. So much so that it now overflows and radiates out initially to your loved ones and fills them with the loving kindness, bringing them happiness, freedom from suffering, and peace. And also include those we may regard as strangers, filling them with the loving kindness and also bringing them happiness, freedom from suffering, and peace. Now also include even those you may regard as enemies, find very difficult, irritating. Fill them with the loving kindness as well. And also bring them happiness, freedom from suffering, and peace. And now gradually let's radiate this loving kindness out further and further distance-wise, initially around your immediate area to all the living beings around here. Whether they live on the land or in the waters, fly through the air. Whether they were born from wombs, eggs, moisture, through transformation. Whether you have an affinity towards them or indifference towards them, or even some sort of fear or negative feelings. Extend this loving kindness to all of these living beings, no matter how you feel about them through your habitual tendencies normally. And now have this loving kindness radiate throughout your whole state or county. To all of the living beings. And other states and counties throughout your whole country. And other countries throughout this whole world that we call the planet Earth. Those countries that you have an affinity towards, and all of the living beings that abide there. Those countries that you may have some sort of indifference towards, and all of the living beings that live in those countries too. And those countries that, for whatever reason, you may have some sort of negative feelings towards. Radiate your loving kindness to them as well, and all of the living beings that abide there. And throughout the oceans, in between the countries, until your loving kindness pervades this whole planet. May there be happiness everywhere. May all the living beings engage in the causes of happiness. May they avoid engaging in the causes of suffering and therefore be free from suffering. May peace pervade the whole planet. And other planets throughout the whole solar system. Other solar systems throughout the galaxy. And all of the galaxies throughout the universe. until your loving kindness pervades infinite space. Whilst also being present here and now, and we'll recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious body, Chitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of Shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. So I hope you are happy now, freeing your mind from what's already gone in the past and freeing your mind from planning for the future. So, as you know, we are having a commentary on the Karaniya Metta Sutta, or the Buddha's teaching on universal loving kindness. And we're up to the first verse, within the first verse, which is predominantly about morality. I remind you, of course, the second and third verses are predominantly about meditating, absorbing your mind with this loving kindness. And the fourth verse, the last verse, is primarily about wisdom or insight. So the three aspects again of the three higher trainings, morality, meditation, and wisdom, come into play again. And of course, this covers the Eightfold Path, of which we've already spoken about during the overview. So I won't go into that right now, apart from mentioning it on occasions if it's applicable during this commentary. All right, so we had a look at, I think up to the first few lines there. This is the work for those who are skilled and peaceful, who seek the good. May they be able and upright, honest of gentle speech, and not proud. And we started to get on to the next bit, which is, may they be content and easily supported, unburdened with their senses calmed. May they be wise and not arrogant, and without desire for the possessions of others. May they do nothing mean or that the wise would reprove. So let's have a look now at, may they be content and easily supported. What is contentment? You know, contentment arises, it's peaceful mind, isn't it? Still, flexible, humble, very clear mind, because we're not sort of grasping at things. We're not too attached to things, always wanting things. And also the opposite, always not wanting things, so having an aversion towards things. So in a sense, a contented mind is, you could say, as a result of having at least very little attachment and aversion, very little desires, only few desires. Of course, we're not free from this attachment yet, but don't give in to it all the time. Don't follow it all the time. And then you'll find that you are actually more contented more often. So having a mind that is free from covetousness, free from having a covetous mind, always wanting things that others own and have, and even just wanting things blandly as well. And also a mind that is free from trying to not have certain things. For instance, if you related to people, you may have an affinity towards some people, a nice feeling, and then of course you want those people in your lives, and that's fine. But if you cling to that, if you have attachment to that, and then it doesn't happen, these people may move away overseas or something like that, or even we are separated from them because one of us passes away or something like that, then the mind is disturbed. There's not contentment. And it's likewise with the opposite. You may, like mentioned during the instruction on loving kindness meditation, that there's maybe some people that you just find so irritating, even really, really yucky feeling that you get from from being around them or even thinking about them. But you cannot always be sure that they're not going to be around. So if your aversion is so strong and you're really affected by it, then how can you be content if they come near you, in your presence? So that's just a simple example related to beings or people. And it's the same with the other living beings too, isn't it? There's, as mentioned before, during the meditation instruction, there's some living beings that you may find really pleasing. Maybe it's a cute little rabbit, or maybe your dog or cat, your pets, or kangaroos, koalas, other types of creatures. And then there's other ones, so many, or most of them you don't even think about, you don't even know about a lot of them. And then, of course, there's the other ones that you just find for whatever reason, maybe ugly, or maybe they're scary, maybe they're poisonous, maybe you don't like snakes or spiders and the like. And so try to give up on this attachment to and aversion from. And also give up this idea of lack of care. Some people, I think, mistake that with non-attachment, think, oh, I don't care about any living beings. But actually, you must care for all living beings. Otherwise, you become very self-centered, very close-minded. In fact, living beings, you could say, are the source of the great compassion. Without these living beings, for us to be compassionate towards, kind and loving towards, then we are very limited inside ourselves, aren't we? So you could say that other living beings are the source of compassion. The wisdom it comes when you realize the truth, but you need to have this compassion to be able to create the conditions to be able to realize the supreme wisdom. So they're not separate in that sense. So contentment is a mind that is reasonably free. A contented mind is a mind that is reasonably free from attachment and aversion. And what was the last? And easily supported. So may this practitioner, that is developing this loving kindness, or at least in the beginning, looking to develop this loving kindness, may they be easily contented or easily supported. So let's say, for instance, I'll just paint a picture. We go to a friend's house for dinner or something like that, or just to visit. And if you are easily supported, in other words, you're not picky, not fussy, unless, with the food, for instance, unless, of course, you have certain dietary needs, such as keeping a vegetarian diet, such as if you are allergic to certain foods, obviously, you must let them know ahead of time these requirements. But if you are not fussy, and then you'll be more contented, won't you? And then easily for them to support. So, like, for instance, if you like carrots, but you don't like them cooked too much, and then you go there and they've cooked the carrots a lot, then maybe you won't enjoy the meal. And you could even get upset if you follow this in your mind. This is a really silly little example, actually, now that I realize, but I think you get my point. So if we can have as little attachment as possible, if we can have as little aversion as possible, reasonably clear mind, and also just not be too difficult to satisfy, then I think we ourselves will be much happier and more calm, more peaceful, as well as being around others. We're able to help them to be more calm, more peaceful as well. And we're able to then develop this universal loving kindness more and more, and less limited. We're not only going to express it in a limited way to those beings that we find pleasing, but we're also starting to develop a mind that is more equanimous, mind of equanimity more, so that we can express this loving kindness out further and further without limiting it eventually. So I think those 2 points are covered. Once again, I invite you, if you want me to give more elaboration on the examples or the points, or more clarity even, then please let me know by sending me messages, and then I will do so in the following classes. Okay. So may they be content and easily supported, unburdened, with their senses calmed. So unburdened means we're not carrying things around with us. You know, the example I use of mental baggage, you know, carrying this mental baggage around, carrying these attachments, these likes, I want this, I don't want that, I don't want that, you know. So unburdened by this mental baggage. And also, you know, being free to a certain extent of things like grudges, you know, bad feelings towards certain things, certain circumstances, certain people, certain living beings. And once again, free from clinging and thinking we possess certain things and certain people, certain living beings. And so if we can be unburdened like this, put down your mental baggage, as I say often. I came up with that example years ago, and I don't know whether it's just an embellishment of a teaching I may have read or listened to, or whether it was just an example that I came up with myself when thinking about how I can share this type of teaching of the Buddhas. But you think about it, if we physically carry bags around on our shoulders, it's very difficult for us. In fact, can even give rise to chronic problems in our shoulders, our neck, and so forth. And so the minute you think about it, if you go shopping, you're carrying these bags around, maybe not like that, maybe down here. And then all of a sudden you think, oh, I need to put them down. So then you put them down, then it's nice and relaxing, isn't it? And it's the same when we put down these attachments, these aversions, this clinging, this not wanting, this wanting, from our mind. And it becomes really relaxing to do so. But because we've been doing this for so many lifetimes and reinforcing these habits, it feels natural for us to carry this mental baggage around with us. And so maybe that's why we don't realize we have it in the first place. Or if we do realize we have it, then all of a sudden we drop it, maybe in meditation or something. And then when we stop practicing, it comes back again. So that's good if you can recognize when it comes back and recognize that it's a habit, and even use humor towards ourselves. It's really healthy to laugh at ourselves and these faults, these habits that we have, rather than getting down on ourselves about it. Or even worse, denying it. Once again, I use this example I use often, and that is the flame behind you. If you turn your back on the flame does not go out, it gets worse. Okay, so don't live in denial. I'll use the old joke that some of you are aware about. Don't be like a fish in Egypt. Okay, so live in denial. Do you get it? The Nile. So play on words there. The Nile River. In other words, the fish in Egypt, in the fresh water, they live in the Nile River. So that's a little joke I came up with many years ago while teaching a once a month youth retreat, you could say. It was like, I think 5 hours on a Sunday, once a month at the Sakyamuni Sambuddha Vihara in Melbourne. And the monks used to do the meditations in the morning there. And then I used to come just before going to teach at another Dharma center. In those days, it was at the Dharma Drum Center in Melbourne. Anyway, so I used to go there once a month. And what I used to do, and just share with you, just for a little bit of interest, is we didn't have a subject. The classes were just called Q&A, so questions and answers. And then we would give a subject just for a little bit of fun at the end of the class, of what the class was about. And of course, the class, the subjects were determined by the questions. And especially if it was a really poignant question that needed longer expression. Okay, so the Dharma class was about an hour, maybe an hour and a quarter long. Okay, so this one class was about being responsible, not living in denial, doing the things that you need to do in your life to be responsible, etc. And so at the end of the class, I mentioned that at the end of the class about don't live like a fish in Egypt. So the class was actually called Fish in Egypt. So a little bit of humor. So don't live like this. Don't live in denial. Face our faults. Face them with calm mind. Face them with good humor. And it'll be much easier then for us to be able to apply the antidotes. You know, so for instance, if we are acting upon greed, for instance, right now, then we need to be more generous, initially in our mind, but then through our actions and words as well. If we're acting upon anger and hatred, we need to be more accepting, forgiving, loving, kind, compassionate, and so on and so forth with the other mental qualities that need to be purified, the faults. Okay, so put down the mental baggage, unburden your mind. Very important. And so let's go back to the start of this, this verse. This is the work. In other words, this is what we need to do as Buddhist practitioners to be able to develop a mind of universal loving kindness, a mind of metta. This is the work for those who are skilled and peaceful, who seek the good. May they be able and upright, honest, of gentle speech and not proud. May they be content and easily supported, unburdened, with their senses calm. So this is what we need to do, okay? Senses calm. What does that mean? First of all, drink water. We have 6 senses, okay? We have the 5 physical senses, the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, and the body. So the tactile sensations, or the sense, tactile sense, the feeling, you know, the touch. And we also have the 6th sense, the mind. And so, what's the exact words there? So unburdened, with the senses calmed. And what this means is a little bit similar to what I just mentioned, and that is that through all of the senses, that we need to not be attached. So let's say we see something. If we see something pleasing, that's fine, enjoy that, but don't be attached to it. Don't cling to it. If we see something that we find ugly or repulsive, or we fear, you know, don't create this aversion towards it. Don't turn your back on it, you know. Be aware, calm mind, and not be chased around, not be blown around by the winds, you know, by the worldly winds of wanting or not wanting and so forth. So then, of course, it's the same with something you hear. Maybe if you hear something and that you like, then you cling to it. Don't do that. Just enjoy it. If you hear something you don't like, you can turn your mind away from it, no problem. But don't get angry at it. You know, don't have this aversion towards it. And it's likewise with the other senses, with the tastes, with the touch. Sometimes, you know, like years ago, I thought when I first lived in a temple in California, I had to get used to certain tastes that I didn't particularly like in the beginning. And it was actually good practice in the end. You know, fermented tofu, for instance. It's almost like a delicacy. But when I first tasted it, I actually said to my master, it tasted a little bit like I imagined that my feet would taste like after a 10-kilometer or 10-mile run in my old runners. Anyway, I got used to that. It was actually a good practice, but I'm not advocating you do that. I'm not saying that you need, or you don't like certain foods. And if you don't need them for nutrition, for instance, then I'm not saying go out and eat them. Though it may be good practice for you to give up the aversion. And maybe it's okay practice as long as you're not denying yourself the good nutrients to some of those foods that you really love. Maybe don't have them for a little while, you know, give up the attachment, but not the enjoyment. You can enjoy all of these things that you find pleasing. And you can not be so upset when we are confronted with things that we experience through our senses that we may find repulsive and the like. And so obviously everything goes into the mind. So the mind sense is what experiences these things. We cannot just experience, it's a consciousness that we experience with. And then of course, having all of these senses calmed, wouldn't that be just lovely? It means we're not going to be blown around, isn't it? And so I think we'll leave it there today. And next week we will cover, and for sure we'll finish up this verse for next week. And I have plans. I have we say there's a method to my madness, but I've actually organized these classes a little bit ahead of time. And then the following week we'll start with the part 1 of the meditation aspect, the 2nd verse. And so it says, May they be wise, not arrogant, and without desire for the possessions of others. May they do nothing mean, or that the wise would reprove. Okay, so we'll cover that next week. I rejoice as always in your goodness, in your meritorious goodness. And please do your best to study, practice, and share the Dharma to the best of your abilities. Okay, I see you next week. Take very good care.